Let's find out, which countries are too dangerous for women in the world. The world's worst countries to be a woman. Seven countries in Asia, and 3 in Africa, dominate the list of nations seen as being the worst to provide gender equality. According to the 2020 Global Gender Gap Ranking Report, people around the world still believe that Arab nations, as well as other countries such as Pakistan and Somalia, have a long way to go, due to high rates of rape and domestic violence, lack of health services, female infanticide and trafficking, which is estimated to have resulted in up to 50 million girls are thought to be missing over the past century, female genital cutting, acid attacks, and economic discrimination including religious intolerance. The gender equality metric is used to develop the best countries for women, and the best countries for raising kids. Women are vulnerable. Welcome to 3M News. On today's countdown, we will be talking about the 10 worst countries to be a woman. This is coming from the data of the World Economic Forum. But before we start, be sure to subscribe and click on the bell icon, for more interesting videos. Starting up from the number 10th spot on today's countdown is Number 10. Lebanon. Lebanon is located in West Asia. It has a population close to 7 million people. Lebanon is bordered by Syria to the north, and Israel to the south, while Cyprus is west, across the Mediterranean Sea. Lebanon's location at the crossroads of the Mediterranean basin and the Arabian hinterland, had contributed to its rich history, and shaped a cultural identity of religious and ethnic diversity. Lebanon's overall performance, in closing the gender gap is mostly unchanged, despite minimal progress in the ratio of women in parliament. Women in the country are still severely underrepresented. Just over 3% hold ministerial positions, and just over 4% of seats in parliament are held by women. With the country under financial crisis and bankruptcy, the country has one of the worst labor force participation ratios. Less than 26% of working-age women participate, compared to over 76% of working-age men. Number 9. Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia is geographically the largest sovereign state in West Asia, the 5th largest in Asia, and the 12th largest in the world. Saudi Arabia is bordered by Jordan and Iraq to the north, Qatar, Bahrain, and the United Arab Emirates to the east, and Yemen to the south. It is separated from Egypt and Israel by the Gulf of Aqaba. It is the only country with both a Red Sea coast and a Persian Gulf coast, and most of its terrain consists of arid desert, lowland, and mountains. Saudi Arabia also has one of the world's youngest populations. 50% of its 34 million people are under 25 years old. Saudi Arabia has made some improvements since 2006, when it was ranked last in the Global Gender Gap Index. Slightly smaller wage and labor force participation gaps, as well as a smaller gender gap in secondary and tertiary education, have contributed to the kingdom being ranked the 9th worst, as opposed to the worst country for gender equality. Even though a ban on female drivers was repealed in 2018, women still cannot make major decisions, swim in public, talk to men, try clothes when shopping, or compete in sports. Number 8. Iran. Iran, also called Persia, is a country in West Asia. It is bordered to the north by the Caspian Sea, to the east by Afghanistan and Pakistan, to the south by the Persian Gulf and the Gulf of Oman, and to the west by Turkey and Iraq. With 83 million inhabitants, Iran is the world's 17th most populous country and the 17th largest in the world. The government has enforced discriminatory laws and other rules limiting women's participation in the job market, and it has participated in discriminatory employment practices against women, in both public and private sectors, because of a widespread belief that women's ideal roles are as mothers and wives only, according to the Human Rights Watch. Iran is among the worst countries for women in terms of economic opportunities, especially labor force participation, estimated earned income, ranked 145th and 143rd, respectively, and political empowerment. Women in Iran face many social barriers. More than 65% have a college degree, but only 18% actually have a job. Women are severely underrepresented in parliament and as private sector managers. Number 7. Mali. Mali is in the 7th spot of the most dangerous countries for women. Mali is a landlocked country in West Africa. The population of Mali is 19 million, and 67% of its population was estimated to be under the age of 25 in 2017. Its borders on the north reach deep into the middle of the Sahara Desert, while the country's southern part, where the majority of inhabitants live, features the Niger and Senegal rivers. In 2006, Mali was ranked the 15th worst country for gender equality. The country ranks near the bottom in 3 of the 4 major measures used to create the Global Index, 130th in economic participation and opportunity, 144th in educational attainment, and 129th in health and survival. There are no laws requiring businesses to hire women or to pay them the same amount for similar work, and there is no law making domestic violence a crime. Armed militias and members of state forces are notorious for brutal gang rapes as well as sexual and human trafficking. Number 6. Congo. The Democratic Republic of the Congo, or simply the Congo, is a country located in Central Africa. It was formerly called Zaire. The 2nd largest in all of Africa, after Algeria, and the 11th largest in the world. With a population of over 84 million, the Democratic Republic of the Congo is the 4th most populous in Africa, and the 16th most populous country in the world. Since 2015, the eastern part of Congo has been the scene of an ongoing military conflict. Congo appears in the Global Index for the first time due to more data being available. The Central African country's overall gender pay gap is 41%. Even though women make up about 53% of the country's population, their access to positions of power and professional and technical jobs remains limited compared to men. Furthermore, there are no non-discrimination laws for hiring women, no laws requiring equal pay, no access to financial services for women, and no legislation against domestic violence. In the Democratic Republic of the Congo, which ranks 6th on the list of the worst places to be a woman, an ongoing war has featured a brutal and strategic campaign of sexual violence targeted at women, from toddlers to the elderly. Women who survive or escape bear a social stigma in their families and communities, or worse suffer from fistula, a painful and embarrassing tearing of the wall between the vaginal and rectal canals. In addition to conflict-related violence, which is largely associated with the easternmost provinces, a recent analysis of a 2007 household survey finds more than 1,100 women are raped every day in the Congo, nationwide. This tally accounts for both domestic violence and conflict-associated rapes. Spousal rape is not criminalized in the DRC. Number 5. Chad. Chad is a landlocked country in north-central Africa. Chad 2020 population is estimated at 16 million people. It is bordered by Libya to the north, Sudan to the east, the Central African Republic to the south and Niger to the west. Chad remains plagued by political violence and recurrent attempted coups d'état. Chad is one of the poorest and most corrupt countries in the world. Most inhabitants live in poverty as subsistence herders and farmers. Chad has a poor human rights record, with frequent abuses such as arbitrary imprisonment, extrajudicial killings, and limits on civil liberties by both security forces and armed militias. Chad has not improved much since 2006, when it ranked 113 out of 114 countries in gender equality. 14 years later, it's still near the bottom out of 153 countries. It ranks last in the educational attainment sub-index. About a third of girls are out of school, compared to a tenth of boys. Despite existing laws for hiring women and paying them the same amount as men, just 65% of working-age women participate in the labor force compared to 77% of men, and women make about 62 cents for every dollar men earn. Number 4. Syria. Syria is a country in West Asia, bordering Lebanon to the southwest, the Mediterranean Sea to the west, Turkey to the north, Iraq to the east, Jordan to the south, and Israel to the southwest. A country of fertile plains, high mountains, and deserts. Syria is home to 17 million diverse ethnic and religious groups, including Syrian Arabs, Kurds, Turkmens, Assyrians, Armenians, Circassians, and Greeks. As of June 2020, the national currency has plunged to new lows, as a result of the civil war. Syria is one of several countries where honor killings are deeply rooted in society. The civil war that started in 2011 has made the situation even worse for women. And gender-based violence is prevalent. In addition, women in Arab countries face high barriers to entering the labor market, and are more likely to be unemployed than men. In Syria, more than a third of women are unemployed, compared to just a tenth of men. Number 3. Iraq. Iraq is a country in West Asia, bordered by Turkey to the north, Iran to the east, Saudi Arabia to the south, and Syria to the west. Iraq is home to 38 million diverse ethnic groups including Arabs, Kurds, Assyrians, Turkmen, Shabakis, Yazidis, Armenians, Mandaeans, Circassians, Sabians, and Kalia. Iraq is included in the Global Gender Gap Report for the first time, and it occupies the third spot in our list of the worst country for women. Gender inequality has been a problem in Iraq for years, and there are signs it is only getting worse, according to a report from the United Nations Assistance Mission for Iraq. There have been pledges to empower women and increase their political participation, but only 10% of ministerial positions are held by women, and only 21% of legislators, senior officials, and managers are women. Daughters still don't have the right to inheritance. Number 2. Pakistan. Pakistan is a country in South Asia. It is the world's fifth most populous country with a population exceeding 212 million. Bordered by India to the east, Afghanistan to the west, Iran to the southwest, and China to the northeast. Pakistan, the sixth most populous country in the world, has an overall gender pay gap of approximately 55%. There is some good news, however. The country made progress in 2018 in wage equality and educational attainment. Pakistan doesn't have laws requiring companies to hire women or pay them the same as men. In terms of wage equality for similar work, Pakistan ranked 106th out of 149 countries. Women are estimated to earn just 20 cents for every dollar men make. Many manifestations of violence against women can be traced to roots in poverty, such as the tradition of forced marriage by families seeking to alleviate debt. Pakistan is ranked 151 out of 153 countries on the Global Gender Gap Report 2020 Index. Number 1. Somalia. Somalia tops the world's dangerous country for women. Somalia is a sovereign country in the Horn of Africa. It is bordered by Ethiopia to the west, the Gulf of Aden to the north, and Somali Sea to the east, and Kenya to the southwest. Somalia has the longest coastline on Africa's mainland. Its terrain consists mainly of plateaus, plains, and highlands. Hot conditions prevail year-round, with periodic monsoon, wind, and irregular rainfall. Somalia has an estimated population of around 15 million. Around 85% of its residents are ethnic Somalis, who have historically inhabited the country's north. Ethnic minorities are largely concentrated in the south. The official language of Somalia are Somali and Arabic. Most people in the country are Muslims, the majority of them Sunni. Devastated by civil war, Somalia is characterized as a failed state with high necessity of transformation. The country's overall gender pay gap is 50%, compared to a global average of 68%. When it comes to managerial positions, the gap between men and women is over 90%. As for women's representation in political positions, the gap is over 97%. Also, the country ranks last out of 149 countries in labor force participation. Just over 6% of working-age women are in the labor force, compared to 71%. There are no non-discrimination laws or laws mandating equal pay. Attacks on schoolgirls and working women for daring to venture out into the public sphere is common. High levels of rape and domestic violence, as well as widespread physical and sexual abuse by state forces, forced and child marriage, and honor killings. That brings us to the end of today's video, of the world's worst countries for women in 2020.
Hola! Thanks for listening.